Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham and of course this is the one place where you do not have to worry about being judgmental because we do it all for you. Alex Phillips is here. Welcome back, Alex. Russell Quirk is here. Ben Habib and of course Amanda Devlin, the star of Showbiz and the bright lights of the big city. We should start right away with an old familiar face and an old familiar name. I don't mean you, Alex. I mean Sadiq Khan.
I'm a young familiar face and
Yes.
you know, well, people just know me as Alex really. I'm hardly any A-lister, am I? Good old Sadiq Khan, the governor of Khanistan. He's decided that not only does he want to be the governor of Khanistan, he actually wants to be, I don't know, emperor of all of Europe.
Yes.
And he's come out and said, we need to reopen Brexit talks because, you know, we've drifted away and the whole way to solve the world's crisis if we rejoin the EU. So he's just set it upon himself to go and do this.
Yes. He doesn't care what Keir Starmer thinks.
Don't care what the public thinks.
No, he doesn't care. But even Keir Starmer doesn't want to rejoin the European Union, as far as he tells us
to.
anyway. But we've got something we don't normally do here. We've got actually a rant from somebody who's very, very good at this sort of thing. Have a look at this.
Figure out how to make London transport work. Perhaps figure out how to stop people stabbing each other in broad daylight and looting the high street. Perhaps figure out how you get rid of all of the vape shops and the Turkish barbers and the American candy stores, which are money laundering units. Perhaps, my friend, you might want to figure out how London stops declining into a developing world hellhole before you decide that Britain should be rejoining the EU, you anti-democratic little twerp.
Any good
whoever
points?
that was, whoever that was.
Well done. Well said.
And do you know what I love about
Whoever
Alex
she is,
Phillips?
I love her.
What I love about Alex
I
Phillips
wish
is
I
that
was
you
just
know,
like her.
you know she really means it.
Of course.
don't you?
One of the
Really
most
means it.
unusual pieces of news on Sadiq Khan
Why have
this
you
week.
not got her on the show? Because she's clearly onto
because her
something.
blood pressure is
she's
soaring.
a little bit
It's
difficult
too
to
high.
control when she's like that. You know, it's a bit frightening. Sadiq Khan today has said said that President Trump is absolutely welcome to visit the United Kingdom.
Oh.
Now,
It's nice of him to give permission.
It's nice of him to give permission. You might remember he wasn't always of this view. At one point, he called him, I think,
insulted
all
him
sorts
quite a
of
lot.
horrible names, didn't he? And said that he didn't want him anywhere near the capital city of this town. And he allowed a balloon to be flown the last time he came into
parody
to
balloon.
London.
He did indeed.
So he's obviously got some ambitions. I was given a theory the other day that he's sitting around. He's been quite quiet recently. Because he's just waiting for Keir Starmer to sort of fall off his perch, and then he's going to pump himself as the next leader of the Labour Party.
Yeah, next Prime Minister. Very possibly. I mean, apart from obviously what Alex has just rather well articulated in terms of all that is wrong with London and it being a consequence of Sadiq Khan, what on earth has Brexit got to do with the London Mayor? I mean, absolutely nothing. It's not his purview. It is not his lane. It has absolutely nothing to do with him whatsoever.
When we were negotiating our so-called exit from the EU, he was shuttling backwards and forwards between London and Brussels, wanting to give Londoners associate citizenship.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do remember
Give
that.
us a special...
He wants a sort of UDI for London, so that we can stand on our own and be part of the
like
European
a Brexit
Union.
for London, like a Lexit.
But, you know, these people are basically traitors, let's call them for what they are, because we were negotiating at a sovereign level to rid ourselves of this institution. And there he was, in amongst others from the Labour Party, and of course John Bercow too, alongside him, continually undermining our position, shuttling off and saying all the wrong things and giving all the wrong signals to all the wrong people. Absolutely appalling.
Yeah, and whenever he does appear on this show, which is pretty much every week, people keep asking the question, how does he keep getting re-elected? I think he's trying to get even re-elected one more time, isn't he?
Oh, do you know, no one actually turns out to vote. That's the thing. If you look at the number of people who voted for Brexit in London, it's actually more than the number of people who just voted for Sadiq Khan. I mean, got to factor in turnouts and stuff. But the thing is, if he wants associate membership of London for the EU, he basically has to say to the EU, would you like Pakistan, Bangladesh, Somalia, all these places to be in the EU? Because I'll tell you what, there are barely any British left in London anymore.
It's very true.
But the nonsense of that means you're going to end up like, I don't know, the Isle of Sheppey, the Isle of Man, the Canvey Island, perhaps, all wanting their own separate, independent status.
Well, I mean, there was a time, do you remember? There was a time, we're going to move on from this, there was a time when the Blair government didn't want to stop at, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. They wanted to give, democracy to Newcastle.
These people don't understand
and all
democracy,
these different.
clearly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, over to you, Russell, because what we could do is, well, as all of that, is just give a load of money away to loads of other countries.
And do you know what? That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
So about
Excellent.
£8 billion, that's 8,000 million pounds of your money, my money, our money, is devoted, it seems, to causes that politicians would say, look, this foreign aid budget is really, really important in terms of making sure that we have our place in the world.
Soft power.
We're helping to promote democracy and transparency and so on. What we're actually really doing, it seems, with that £8 billion of your money is the following. Spending £600,000 on an investigation into pregnant men. 841.
That won't take long, will it?
No. Should have cost £6, not 600,000 quid. £841,000 was awarded to a research project titled "The Europe That Gay Porn Built." £194,000 on gay pig masculinities. I'll say that again.
Gay
pig masculinities, which actually then developed into a film called Oink. I'm not kidding.
Really?
This is not April the 1st.
You haven't seen it?
Oink. No, I haven't. David Cameron
How does
might
it
have done. Shrimp farms in Bangladesh, which of course are famous now. £500,000. This is your favourite, Mike Graham. I know this. £500,000 on electric Porsches.
Yeah.
They're about £90,000 each, so 500 grand in total to help the Albanian prison system.
Why isn't there any electric Porsches in the Albanian
Maybe
prison?
I don't know, to help fast getaways. Escapees.
You know what Albanians are like. Give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. It's like, do you want to check for your charitable work? Yeah, we need some Porsches.
You guys are cleverer than me in so far as some of this stuff. So tell me what this is. Another grant included £1.1 million for the University of Sheffield for intersectional inclusion.
Well, you'll have to ask Alex about
What is that?
There's this
Intersectional inclusion.
Basically, it's the entire checklist of wokery, every single letter
Is this the
in every
72
single...
gender thing?
It's, but it's no intersectional. You've got 72 genders, but it's how this then intersects with, amputees and lesbians and black people and Muslims and all the other categories. That's what intersexuality... I don't know. Intersectionality, sexuality.
This was all coming from some organisation I'd never heard of, right? Because The Sun published all this week, but because they also published the list of overseas aid, which was not 8 billion but 15 billion.
Yeah.
And there was even more money going south. And in that, they were going 5 million for transforming feminist funding in Iraq.
Yep.
I don't think that's gone very well, has it?
Yep.
One of 9.5 million, accountability and inclusion in the Congo. Mm-hmm. I wonder if any of this money's made its way into the back pocket of the leaders of the Congo.
International waste. And look, just to put this into perspective, so that 8 billion, even just the foreign aid budget that seems to be largely wasted, that would pay for 267,000 nurses.
Yeah. I mean, it is nonsense, isn't it? Gender Disinformation Conference in Kenya, 110,000. Yeah. Mental health research in Colombia, maybe stay off the marching powder, 233,000. Women's Affairs Director for the Military of Jordan, £500,000.
Yep.
Has anyone seen this video that's been circulating on Twitter with basically Rory Stewart, who's now become one of the worst human beings on planet Earth, having a meltdown because his wife Shoshana has some sort of organisation that was due to receive a million quid.
Well, no, that was the latest instalment. I mean, I think
the
they're in
latest instalment?
No, they're in
$1
receipt.
million.
He said there's another $1 million to come, and they've stopped it.
And there's a little video attached to this of what his wife Shoshana does, which is basically sort of, I don't know, like talk down to people in hijabs about how a urinal is actually modern art. And it's all being done through a translator, and she's there going, do you know what this is?
Rory Stewart.
It's a urinal.
This is important in the art movement.
There was a urinal involved.
But Rory Stewart was stupid enough to go onto his silly podcast with Alex Phillips to tell everybody that his wife was a beneficiary to the tune of £1 million for this money.
If you wanted to give the Taliban any more excuse to try and fly over and bomb us, it's telling them that a blimmin' urinal is the thing that guides our society.
And this was US. This is the thing that Elon Musk has blown up, by the way, which is USAID. Right, Ben, over to you. The Prime Minister.
Yeah, Prime Minister, who, having hollowed out our armed forces on the same day as we were sanctioning Zelensky firing Storm Shadow missiles, we were cancelling 2 frigates and our helicopter, in the United Kingdom. But now that Trump seems to be bringing peace, we hope, to the Ukrainian-Russian war, Keir Starmer thinks that, having hollowed out our armed forces, as I say, he's going to place British troops on the ground because that's a good idea, right? Because we've got to protect the integrity, the constitutional integrity and the borders of Ukraine. We don't have to bother protecting our borders or our constitutional integrity. We can't do that.
No.
But we will nevertheless put our own soldiers at risk in Ukraine And if there's ever a further attack from Russia, they'll be the first to go. So we can drag ourselves back in to a European war without having to, go past go.
And isn't it funny how all the lefties having to go at Donald Trump for, showing his hand in the negotiations, but they're not having to go at Keir Starmer for showing his hand by saying, "Oh, we'll put some troops in," which he's now said already that he thinks he might have got a bit far. But I've got a bit of a speech, I think. Let's have a look at it.
Europe must play its role, and I'm prepared to consider committing British forces on the ground.
This is a guy who can't actually speak in front of a camera without reading.
Yeah.
He's got notes there, right? He's just been in a meeting for about 3 hours.
Him into war?
I mean, how has this guy ever been? I mean, I know that we're going to come on to it later with some of the lies that have been told by people on their CVs to get into government. How was he ever a barrister? You're supposed to be able to talk in a courtroom without notes. You're supposed to be able to be, relatively flowery. You're supposed to be quite good
convincing and charming
orator. You're supposed to have the gift of the gab. He hasn't got any of those things.
But anyone who has a command of what it is they're speaking about and who believes in what they're speaking doesn't need notes.
No.
Because you speak from the heart, you know it.
Right.
And whenever you see a politician with copious notes, you know that they've learnt it or they're trying to learn it.
But he keeps looking, but he's looking down at them. He's looking down at the notes.
The other thing that happened, of course, which you may now be aware of, is that about 24 hours after that speech, where he said that he was going to be the saviour of the Ukraine by way of being this European kind of leader, is the German Chancellor immediately said, "Hang on a second, I completely disagree with everything you just said. You're premature," and I think he actually called him irresponsible. So he can't even get it right.
He said, "I'm irritated." I think he said,
"I'm irritated." Well, join the club.
Join the club.
That's what I said. Try having him as your Prime Minister. You'd be really irritating. Meanwhile, Donald Trump continues to upset people all over the place. Here's some people in this country saying whether they would go and fight for their country.
If England was to go to war, would you fight for the country?
No. No, I have no ounce of patriotism in my body whatsoever.
Really?
No.
I just can't be bothered. No, can't be bothered. Okay.
But also, we're all trans, so that's a hot topic, isn't it?
Last thing I would want to do is represent England. There's not exactly much to be proud of.
The good news is they don't want to fight for their country because, to be honest, they don't look very scary to me. Can you imagine the Russian stormtroopers going, "Oh no, look, here come a lot of trans teenage kids, who don't think much of their country." And also, by the way,
inclusive. Wait till Russia and Iran
whoever that guy was doing the interview. It's actually, you don't actually go to fight for England anymore.
No, it's the United Kingdom.
That was a long time ago. Now you fight for the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, actually.
Just a couple, 225 years later.
I know. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Actually, if you lined a load of them up on the coastline of Kent, when people came over to invade, they'd be like, "Oh, blimmin' heck, no thanks."
Actually go back,
Scared off. We don't want this land. Let them just, it's a bit like sort of a leper island at this
Take
point.
me back. Take me back. I mean, there is a bit of Trump derangement syndrome going on and Elon Musk derangement syndrome. Sheryl Crow, you might remember from days of old, I think she was in here doing an interview at Virgin not that long ago. She's apparently got rid of her Tesla in protest. I mean, is there anything more ridiculous than a very wealthy entertainer
I'm sure Elon
getting
Musk
rid of her car? Here she is.
He must be heartbroken.
Waving goodbye to the electric car that she bought from Tesla, because that's obviously making such a statement.
I mean, isn't that the ultimate virtue signalling, where she's actually put it on video, waving it goodbye?
Right.
I mean, talk about absolute
And
virtue
she's probably a net zero nutcase.
Yeah.
And so she's just given up her electric car, probably in favour of a fossil fuel.
She's also had it taken away by a very big lorry, which is probably running on diesel. So the whole idea of
She was
the
on a
net
private
zero.
jet just 3 days ago.
Or the melted down cassette.
No, there's a carve out for private jets. Private jets are completely, they're in keeping with the net zero. Yeah, they're tolerated by the net zero law.
It's the sort of equivalent of somebody giving away their bottles of Dom Perignon because they're upset with the French, isn't it? I'm not going to drink these anymore. It's disgraceful.
That's a step too far. I would never do that.
No.
The signal she thinks that sends to Elon Musk. You've already bought it, you idiot. I don't care. I've already had your money.
Yeah, right.
Right.
And presumably she's sold it to somebody else who's paid even more money, which will be taxed, which will then go to the exchequer, which will go to Elon Musk's, It is, I mean, the amount of nonsense going on here is quite ridiculous. So now over to you, Amanda. We've got some showbiz.
Yes, so everyone was talking about Wicked all of last year. So Wicked, the main star, Cynthia Erivo, she has been announced that she's going to play Jesus Christ in Andrew Lloyd Webber's
Yeah. There she is.
But Jesus Christ wasn't green.
I don't think she's going to be green in this.
She's not actually green. She's not actually green now.
See, that is the kind of discriminatory talk I just won't hear on this show, because she may or may not be green in Jesus Christ Superstar. I don't know. But she's certainly not going to be white, that's for sure.
No.
So obviously she's black and she's gay and she's a woman. So it was like, okay, that's the perfect
Is that the full
person
house in the world of woke?
Yeah, that's the perfect person.
That's
to play
the
Jesus
meaning of
Christ.
intersectional.
Oh, okay.
That's intersectional.
So it all
all of
fits
those things, all of
together.
them.
I get
intersecting,
it.
all the wokery.
And I mean, we can sit here and we can get really angry about it and we can debate it all day long. But there's actually, when it's about religion, it's dangerous. You know, there are a lot of people who are feeling disrespected.
Well, let me put this to you. I bet she wouldn't play Mohammed in any stage play as a woman.
And it just makes you think whether
Can you imagine? They'd be burning down the theatre.
Well, we're already kind of seeing now, this is not anything new actually, is it? We're already seeing how we're rewriting history and so many on-screen adaptations.
Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
Has anyone spoken to Lloyd Webber about this? Because I remember
it's his decision apparently.
During COVID, that man was crying his little eyes out that he couldn't afford any more pre-Raphaelite paintings because no one was going to the theatre.
Now he can land the biggest,
one of the biggest. Start selling his stock at this rate. No one wants to see that.
I don't think people I don't think people care, but I think there is a hypocrisy about the whole business and I think it's happening in Los Angeles. I think it's happening in London. But the whole point about it is that, you know, people will look at it because it's Christianity. You can mess about with Christianity as much as you want, but you can't do it with Islam. That's my point. You would not get any theatre company in the right mind, you know, portraying Muhammad as a woman, would you?
No, it's a surefire way to, hell.
But haven't we also in Hollywood, we've heard huge uproar, haven't we, from non-Jewish actors playing Jewish people in certain films, and the left rail against that, saying this is completely inappropriate. You have to have a Jewish actor playing a Jewish person. So why is it okay that it's a black woman playing Jesus Christ, but it's not okay the other way around when it comes to the Jewish religion?
As the Christian here in this here studio,
you're not the only one, you know. You say it as if you're the only Christian.
Are you one?
Well, I was born a Catholic.
Good.
You know.
He's not a Christian.
I'm baptised. Are you a Christian?
Are you a Christian? If that's of any help to you.
It is basically coming up to the point we need an inquisition. But before we get to that stage, all I say is those who know the Bible know that it predicts Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, Sodom and Gomorrah happened. It predicts the ends of time being pretty much a reliving of that experience. So
that'll be about a week and a half.
Not far away.
We're nudging up on what is writ.
I don't know. It's all getting a bit serious.
We'll have to do another show.
Let's have a look at Cynthia Erivo. Is it? Cynthia Erivo. She is talking.
As a black woman who is queer,
who
shows up in this way,
absolutely.
There's something that I have that many other alphabets don't have. They don't know what it is like to walk through the world like this. I do.
Yeah.
And so that immediately makes me completely different.
So that because she's a black queer woman, that means that she's absolutely quite right to play Jesus Christ.
But she's also making it sound like she's underprivileged. She's one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. For
She's got far too many earrings.
Yeah.
Did you
know? And a nose ring.
Yeah, I thought cattle markets were closed down after BSc, but...
Blimey. Anyway, let's go. Coming up next, we're going to talk actually about Doctor Who. Maybe she'll end up playing Doctor Who. Doctor Who is right in the doo-doo. Actually, it could be called Doctor Doo-doo, but that's another story. I'm going to also be talking about David Tennant, who used to be Doctor Who. It's all kind of intersectionally going along well.
Clever show. It's a clever show.
We'll be back with more from Plank of the Week after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We've got a pretty good start there. I think we had a few confusions over some religious references, but we're all right now. My host this week, host with the most, or least perhaps, is David Tennant. The BAFTAs happened this week, which is, of course, the usual, fun fest. I don't know if you were there, Amanda, were you?
I actually wasn't. A few of my colleagues
were. It's the usual sort of
scouting
ridiculousness of some very, very wealthy actors standing around talking about how important the films that they're in are and how amazing they all are.
But they don't do them for nothing, though, do they?
I don't think they do. No, I think they're
that.
quite well paid for it, and they all stand around, congratulating each other. And this year, David Tennant was invited back. I think he did it last year, and I think last year was it not his joke about Kemi Badenoch that sort of stole the show, if you like, and they all clapped and cheered because he just said, "I just wish you would shut up." Which, if you said that about any other woman, particularly another black woman, you would have a problem. But here he is with his sparkling monologue at the BAFTAs. Check it out.
No.
A film about incredible architecture. In fact, it's the boldest architecture in film this year, apart from Donald Trump's hair in The Apprentice. Donald Trump, of course, he says he hasn't seen The Apprentice because it's a 15. It's not on Nickelodeon. See? Donald Trump. I'm worried. I've said his name 3 times. It's like Beetlejuice. I've summoned him.
Yeah, it's really not. And also, even the audience of champagne socialists is kind of slightly uneasy there, you know, because like it or not, matey, I'm afraid he is the President of the United States of America. And then he goes, speaking of villains, and they all kind of go, you know, it's just...
They're brandishing their woke credentials, aren't they? They're just polishing them up and showing them to each other. And aren't we also blooming virtuous?
Yeah, and then
we can denounce the President
straight
of the
home
United
to the
States.
slave that's looking after the kids, and the slave that does the washing, and the slave that does, you know, all the errands around the house and all that, and the slave that's fixing the plumbing and all the rest. But, you know, the BBC actually cut it out because I think even they realised that you can't just go around... One, it's not very entertaining and not very funny. And he came in as well, we're not going to show it because it's too embarrassing. He came in wearing a kilt. And
singing
dancing
500 miles.
to the 500 Miles song by the Proclaimers.
Yeah.
And the audience were kind of like looking sort of in horror because they didn't want him to stop anywhere near them in case he asked them a question. It was really cringe, absolutely awful.
I loved it that you had Kylie Jenner, whose boyfriend is in another film, Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
And you had her just staring up at David Tennant when he's singing, thinking,
what the
hell is happening?
Because he can't
Maybe
sing.
she could see up that kilt and she was like, what the hell is happening?
Or what isn't happening.
What even is that?
Yeah, but yeah, it was just awful. And I mean, I don't watch those things. Like they go on for hours, even at the edited version. And apparently, this was even more of a bore fest and snore fest than
I always
than most.
start off, in good faith, I always start watching it. But the BAFTAs is just notoriously, it's just so dull.
They're all pretty dull,
They just
aren't
are
they?
so up with themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just sitting there. They're not really even listening to David Tennant enough to laugh or attempt to laugh. They're just wanting to have their moment on camera.
It's like
That's
a kind
what
of
it is.
circular firing squad of virtue signalling woke nonsense.
Exactly.
They're all trying to outdo each other.
Yeah, look at us.
I mean, The Brutalist as well. I mean, come on. It's a film. Nobody seems to make films anymore that are less than 3 hours long.
I know.
And it's about some dirge of an architect who makes some dirgy...
Sounds great.
Yeah, I said, my sister said she was going to see it. And my sister said, it sounds brutal. I said, I'm not going. I mean, seriously. Why would you? And they're all so earnest, you know.
How do they raise the money for this
such an important film. I don't even know how they do that. But it was in half-term week, right? I don't know if any of you have been travelling about London this week, but it's been
a joy.
With children.
Absolute joy.
No, but there's children everywhere.
Oh, are there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I
didn't
don't
see
know
them.
where you've been going.
I've been up too early, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No traffic.
I mean, the traffic's good.
Yeah,
that's
traffic's
good.
great.
But
yeah.
going anywhere and going on the tube in particular is just riddled with children
Yeah,
running
so you sort of
about.
have to crunch
Restaurants are
over
full
Cheerios
of
and
you know,
crisps
French
before you
families
can-
with about 15 kids who are
Yeah.
all
Trying to make the most of coming to
playing
London before it's
petanque
gone
in the middle of the
forever,
restaurant. You know,
aren't they?
it's absolutely
Before
ridiculous.
London falls completely.
Yeah.
Make the most of it.
But don't worry, because if you have got young kids, the BBC has got some advice for you. And this is actually what they put out as recommended tips for children to do this half-term.
It can be a struggle to prise the kids away from their screens, only to find it difficult to find affordable activities. But there are plenty of things to do in London this half-term that either don't cost much or doesn't cost the earth, including here at the Cutty Sark, where all week they've got storytelling sessions, musical performances and interactive exhibits, all about the very little-known maritime history of LGBTQ plus communities.
So this half term, we're really focusing on those hidden histories that you might not necessarily associate with Britain's maritime history. So we're looking at things like pirate marriage that existed, or sailor love tokens, and storytelling that really highlight those LGBTQ people who existed in our history but weren't necessarily celebrated.
What about, hang on, rum, sodomy and the lash. I mean, people talk about that.
Little known. Gay sailors, hello sailor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been known for years.
Also, why don't you just take them to Soho and they can see people grinding up against each other in real life?
Exactly right. No point in going back in history, is there? Why don't, if there's somebody walking of the plank, perhaps
Go
they
to
could
the
have.
nightclub Heaven and
Yeah.
blimey, you see history flash before your eyes.
Yeah, a quick trip down Old Compton Street about 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
Should be
Well, my kids are off school, obviously, for the next few days. I might mention this to them tonight. So
Yeah.
do you want to go and look at the history of
pirate
LGBTQITA+, whatever it is, in a maritime sense? I wonder what they'll say to me, Alex.
I don't know your kids, Russell.
I think you probably do, because they're very similar to me.
If you gave me that offer, I'd say, yeah, let's go troll it.
Yeah, let's go troll it.
Let's go troll it.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
The empire was built on the back of LGBTQ, wasn't it?
Of course.
That's how we went abroad and...
Well, hold on, can I just say, you may jest, but if you look back at the fashions of the 18th century, when we actually were the rulers of the seas and controlled a third of the world, you had men in massive wigs, beauty spots, ruffle necks and tights.
That was the French. That
so
wasn't us.
No,
we were
proper
massive
men. Cross-dressers.
Also, there were plenty of women.
There
were also probably plenty of women pirates who actually were just as good as the men.
Now you're indulging in fantasies.
But that's another story. Alex Phillips, speaking of masculinity, let's go to Europe, shall we? The Munich Security Conference, which was very much set on its back heel, the back foot, by J.D. Vance, who came over and told us a few home truths.
I cannot get enough of this video because it actually personifies everything that we've been talking about. Well, everything. The whole intersection... I can't even say that word.
It's hard to say.
The whole intersectionality of everything we've been talking about and the crisis it's sort of put the West into. It's just encapsulated in this moment with Christophe Heusgen.
Yeah.
The thing is, right...
He's a German, if you tell people who he is, he's a German diplomat. Okay. He was once, apparently, the German ambassador to the United Nations. So
let's break this down. This is a guy who's the director of the Munich Security Conference. The first thing he decided that had to happen was attendees had to be 50% men and 50% women, because that matters.
Yeah. Well, we're quite lucky that he's only believing in two genders, aren't we?
Why not? Right.
I mean, quite modern man.
He used to be Angela Merkel's foreign affairs advisor, known to be the most influential foreign affairs advisor she's ever had. So he would have been there going, Angela, I think we should get rid of nuclear. Angela, I think we need more gas from Putin. Angela,
so he was also responsible.
Can we have some more Syrians?
Yeah, we should have 1 million more Syrians.
I think we should take all of these terrorists in the Middle East and bring them here. And so basically, he's running this conference. And J.D. Vance comes along and goes, well, it might be a bit effed up over in Ukraine, which, by the way, you guys totally caused. But I'm kind of really worried about you lot. You're anti-democratic, you're way too woke, you're weak, you're basically a bunch of ninnies, of which they're all rolling their eyes and laughing. Anyway.
They were horrified. Well, let's have a listen to what J.D. Vance said, first of all, because that will set the scene for you.
I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration. Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high. It's a similar number, by the way, in the United States, also an all-time high. No voter on this continent went to the ballot box to open the floodgates to millions of unvetted immigrants. But you know what they did vote for? In England, they voted for Brexit, and agree or disagree, they voted for it. And more all over Europe, they're voting for political leaders who promise to put an end to out-of-control migration.
Wow, how terribly upsetting.
I think I love that man.
Yes, he's great, isn't he?
I mean, I'll fight you for
his
him.
mine.
Oh, yeah. What?
Oh, no, I'm in love with him too. I think we all are, aren't we?
Yeah, we're all
on this side of the political divide.
Sure that we were all LGBT.
But the other hilarious thing about his speech, of course, was that he was trolling the European leaders for their attitude towards freedom of speech, the lack of it. Right. Then they all had to go at him for what he said.
Yeah.
Did they not see the irony?
No, they really didn't.
Surely we have the clip of why the man's a plank, though. This Christophe Heusgen.
Well, this is what I'm just teeing you up for.
Okay, let's build up to it.
It's called the drama of it all.
So Vance comes and basically says, you lot are a bunch of...
She's not been on for a while.
No.
Can I swear?
I don't think so.
You lot are a bunch of I can't swears. And then they'll go, oh. And then the next day, so you've got the guy who sets this all up, Angela Merkel's former bag carrier, who basically created the perma-crisis in Europe, stands on the stage and, he sort of says how affected he's been by Vance's words.
Shall we have a look?
After the speech of Vice President Vance on Friday, we have to fear that our common value base is not that common anymore. I'm very grateful to all those European politicians that spoke out and reaffirmed the values and principles that they are defending. No one did this better than President Zelensky. Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
Oh, there he gets a little hug at the end.
Can I just say, surely, look, this is a new entrant. No one's even heard of this guy outside of lunchtime. And even better, we can say it in German, can't we? Planke de Woche.
We also think he had the same voice coach as Keir Starmer.
He did, yeah. Unbelievable.
It's terrible.
Why did it become difficult? This is difficult.
That's pathetic.
Isn't it?
JD Vance is like, you're really weak. The guy who ran foreign policy in Germany cries.
Yes.
Great.
So I think he might be right.
That's it. That's Planke de Woche.
But also, doesn't it tell you how far the West has fallen?
How far we have gone.
These people who are sitting there watching him think it's worthy of applause that he's crying.
I know.
Because he has no answer. He has no answer to JD Vance.
They didn't want to cheer JD Vance.
No.
But they also know
Our
he's
guy.
right. They also know he's right because
I'm
Europe
not sure.
Europe is clearly politically lurching towards the right to stem the incredibly kind of uncontrolled flow of immigration.
Yeah, all these characters will be out of a job.
Yeah. So they know that they've got a problem because they're now trying to fix the problem that they themselves have started.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, unbelievable. Anyway, over to you, Russell. Farishta Jami.
Farishta Jami. Yeah. So this name should sit in our minds forever. Well, it's a police cover-up of a different kind.
Very good.
You get it?
You may not know the story.
We should show the picture of the video. So this is Farishta Jami. She is a convicted terrorist on multiple terror offences. She was seeking to go and join ISIS and was very kind of visible about it.
In Afghanistan, right? With her children.
Yeah, with her children. And she was also, I think she was chair of some WhatsApp group, which was specifically ISIS-related and banned and so on. So anyway, she's been convicted and now sentenced for being, guess what, a terrorist. The police duly then make sure that there's a mugshot, which is produced. Mugshots, by the way, are quite important so that when somebody's convicted, they can be identified later on if they are involved in other crimes.
Or in case they escape.
So here's the thing, right? So the one on the left was taken first, which is, perfectly legitimate. She is a criminal. She's been processed. She's been fingerprinted and photographed. She then, bearing in mind she's been convicted and sentenced of terrorist offences, there's nothing more serious, really. She then says, no, hang on a sec, I'm a devout Muslim. I'm not happy that my face has been shown, so I want to put my whatever the paraphernalia is on, and I insist that you take another picture, which obviously shows absolutely nothing of any value whatsoever.
And the Warwickshire police agreed to put it out. I mean, how do you know that's not David Tennant?
But, it could be. But Mike, who's the plank? Is it her or is it West Midlands Police for doing the second picture?
Well, it's Warwickshire Police, isn't it?
Yeah. West Midlands.
Is it West Midlands? It says Warwickshire here, I don't know. I'm not sure.
For curtailing to this ridiculousness.
It is mad, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's a bit like the stories that you hear about the people in their hijabs and their burqas going through passport control at Heathrow, refusing to take the stuff off, and presumably border control just go, you could be anybody, right? Off you go.
Yeah.
Go through.
And they eventually changed that policy, but at one point, I think there was certainly a suspected terrorist who made his escape from Britain back to a country in Europe.
In a burqa.
In a burqa, because nobody could tell who he was. And you go, well, that doesn't seem
and to be
very
clear, some countries have banned the burqa. France, for instance, has banned the burqa.
Well, I say this all the time. My daughter comes here from Dubai. She sees more burqas in London than she ever sees in Dubai.
Absolutely.
You know?
Are they banned there, basically?
They're not banned. No, people just don't wear them.
But you know that programme, The Masked Singer?
Yes.
You could have like Plank of the Week with a burqa'd panellist like every single week that you never know the identity of the person lying in judgment.
They'd probably get it as soon as we start talking.
The stick, exactly. No one knows who the stick is.
Yeah.
But on an important point, liberalism is what emancipated women. And it was liberalism that dragged women out of the Victorian clutches of misogyny and, a patriarchal world onto an even level playing field. And it's the same liberalism.
They got the vote and everything.
And it's they got the vote and everything. And it's the same liberalism which is championing ostensibly these women's rights to dumb down their independence.
Yes.
The burqa, the niqab, is nothing more than an outward expression of their complete inner repression. And in the pursuit of liberalism, which should be emancipating these women are being shut down in front of our own eyes.
And can I also just suggest that obviously there's this kind of, it's a discretionary thing, isn't it? It's because you as a Muslim man, not that you are, but as a Muslim man, you don't want someone looking at your wife. I would suggest that the ugly ones like her don't need the veil, do they? I mean, it should only really be the good-looking ones that need
well,
the
very possibly
burqa.
so. The whole thing is
But I would need to
ludicrous
take the niqab off to determine whether or not she is wearing a niqab.
There'd have to be a test.
There'd have to be a test.
I'll take you back to an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is very funny.
Very funny.
Where he becomes obsessed with the woman who's got her face covered, and then when she finally takes it off, it's like,
Oh, no.
Anyway, we could make a break here, haven't we? No, we haven't. Yeah, we have got to take a break here. We're coming back with yet another ridiculous story about a radical preacher who's been banned from practically everywhere else, but apart from, guess where, this country. And also, now we're going to talk about Doctor Who as well, which is going so badly in the ratings, they're thinking of getting David Tennant back. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We are more than halfway through and we've only got 3 more to go. Some very exciting ones as well. Over to you, Ben Habib. You've got a radical preacher for us.
Yeah, so he's Mohamed Hoblos, and he's not a hobnob. He's not a biscuit. He is.
Sounds Mexican. Hoblos.
Yeah, he doesn't. With the exception of the word Mohammed, he certainly doesn't sound like a Muslim, does he, Mohamed Hoblos?
I've never heard of a radical preacher from Mexico. It'd be quite interesting, that. But anyway, carry on.
So anyway, he's got not what I would call infection of radical Islam. He's got something much, much worse than that. This man is an absolute lunatic.
Yeah.
And he's on the record saying that actually it doesn't matter if you rape women, it doesn't matter if you're a paedophile, it doesn't matter if you steal, beg, borrow, kill, whatever. As long as you pray once or pray in accordance with your requirements under Islam, everything is forgiven and you are a better person than someone who is good, doesn't commit all those crimes, but doesn't pray.
Right.
This man is a complete blooming lunatic.
Yeah.
And my first reaction when I heard he was coming to the UK, I think he lives in Australia. Poor Australians.
My
Can you
God.
imagine? But my first reaction when he was coming to the UK was he shouldn't be allowed here. But actually, I think we should parade him around every single television studio.
Yes.
And absolutely let him say what he has to say.
Right.
So he reveals
we
himself
can see.
for what he is.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a clip of him talking. Let's have a look at what he has to say to us.
We go to the meeting and there is a female. Brother, you put your hand in the hand of a foreign woman and you are foolish enough to think that pleases Allah? He says an iron nail to be driven in the back of your skull and through your brain. This is better for you than to touch a foreign woman.
Yeah, that sounds pretty rational, doesn't it?
Yeah,
so what's
I
the
can't wait to go and touch him.
Yeah.
Get off the aeroplane and I'll be like, woohoo!
All right, mate. Can
And
see
then
it.
someone drive a nail through his head.
Yeah, I bet you, though, if you actually did get him down to the brass tacks of it, you could have somebody with a hammer and a nail and go, look, here's a choice, right? You can either shake hands with Alex Phillips or I'll just pile this into the back of your head. Which one would you prefer? And would you like some water as well while you're here?
Nail,
Also, that is the first time I've been exposed to an Antipodean Pakistani accent.
I don't know what his accent
Well, I don't know what that
really
was. Yeah, that
weird.
was sort of like a whole new experience.
But I mean, he has been banned in 27 countries for being extremist.
But not here.
But apparently it's okay for him to come here. And he's got I think he's doing a tour.
He's probably here to do a tube advert or something for Sadiq Khan.
Yeah, right. But this is it. I mean, he's not just...
He's Sadiq Khan's new mascot.
This is how Sadiq Khan plans to solve the sort of the crisis on public transport. Just send out that video. Don't this sort of minorities. Don't touch women unless I'm a nail in head.
But he's got a bunch of shows set up, I think, in various different venues around the country. I mean, where are all these the cancel culture people? Who try and get Graham Linehan cancelled, who wrote Father Ted, and thinks a woman should be.
They're off, don't they, at these critical
Would you take your
moments?
children to that?
I would go to it. I think we should all go to it.
I think we should all go.
And we should heckle, and we should ask questions, and we should debate.
Gay pirate ship and then Hoblos.
We should put Hoblos into bat with the gay pirate ship. Let's see how he gets on with that.
Well, we can also take all those people with the banners that say gays for Palestine. See what happens.
Can I just say, Hoblos on the gay pirate ship is intersectionality.
Yeah. I feel as if I've taken some strange drugs. I don't know.
It's gone surreal,
But it
isn't
has got a bit weird.
surreal.
Amanda, bring us back to reality with the time traveller. Doctor Who?
Doctor Who.
Yes.
Any fans here?
No.
No.
I used to watch it when I was a kid.
Child,
And I think, I'm so old, I watched it when John Pertwee was Doctor Who I thought was quite good.
Great. Daleks, sea monsters,
and
Cybermen.
my kids actually quite liked David Tennant when he was Doctor, but they liked the guy before him, whose name I forget. Christopher Eccleston. They liked him as well. But lately it's just gone woke, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Dr.
the
Woke.
ratings have been abysmal, and it's on its way out. So apparently the crew are sort of they're preparing to be out of jobs. The main star, Shifty Gatwa. I'm so bad.
Shifty Gatwa, yes.
Doctor Who?
Yeah, Doctor Who. So he was brought in, and we've had over the past few series, I mean, we've had the Doctor Who turned into a female, a gay Doctor Who, that was when David Tennant came back, and then the latest was a black man. So they've tried
Didn't they also have a
really
trans
switch
alien
it
at one point?
up. So this is it. It's not even just gone from like, I can understand them trying to maybe freshen up the show, give it a go, see how it works out. But it's now like bringing in, we've got non-gendered
there was an alien.
Aliens.
I remember using the clip of somebody talking to an alien. Have we got that clip? Oh yeah, we've got that. Have a look.
I promise I can help him get home and then you'll never see me again.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
True. Yes, sorry, good point. Are you he or she or they?
My chosen pronoun is the definite article.
What?
The 60th anniversary was about a character who was trans to be saved. You've got them like slagging off Christianity, capitalism. They throw in every sort of political, anything they can get their hands on and make it woke. And the problem with making it woke is famous saying, go woke.
Go woke, go broke. The ratings they've collapsed. I've got this here. 2024, 3.95 million. In 2023, it was 7.27 million. And way back in, 2009, it was over 10 million, nearly 11 million.
So they've lost 60% of their audience.
They've lost more than 60% of their audience since back then. And it's going like that, falling off a cliff.
Because it's being rammed down your throat. You just like, calm down. This is meant to be family entertainment, sitting down, relaxing, watching something. We don't have to tick off every single box. We don't have to have all of these political issues that we have to confront on a Saturday night. I mean, it's just too much.
Well, there's an easy fix for this, isn't there? Just go back in time. So what it used to be like before you introduced all this crap, right?
Bring back Tom Baker or somebody.
No, do you know what I think would be an absolute, a genius thing to do? If they say, we've gone so broke, even sort of, David Tennant, who's a little less woke than, the intersectional alien. I think they should just go full hardline anti-woke and get Roseanne Barr to
Danny Dyer.
Yeah, get
Danny
some
Dyer as Doctor Who.
Ant Middleton.
Jordan Peterson. He is
Jim
Doctor
Davidson. Jim Davidson. Can you imagine?
Jim Davidson.
Right. Now let's have Shifty Gatwa because here's an explanation of what is the state of the show now.
He's a Time Lord. He's literally an alien. They are an alien. The Doctor is not from anywhere. It's like they don't fit in anywhere. And I think for marginalized people, they have been a real beacon of kind of feeling like seen in a way.
Well, what it basically says is they don't fit anywhere, including people's lounges on a Saturday night.
Exactly. Nobody's watching it. Even marginalised people are saying it's crap. I have to say. We're nearly at the end now. Yeah, we're nearly at the end. So, we're going to come back with me deciding who's going to win it. But I've got one more nomination for you, and it's somebody else in the Labour government who've actually got a bit of an easy ride this week. This is Plank of the Week. So, here we are again, having discovered that yet another member of the Cabinet, nominated and appointed by Keir Starmer, is a liar. And this one, this week, is Jonathan Reynolds, the Business Secretary, who purports to be a solicitor, who up until a couple of days ago had suggested in several interviews and on his LinkedIn CV that he was, in fact, a qualified solicitor. It turns out that he's not at all a qualified solicitor. So it was pointed out after Guido Fawkes managed to uncover it. And he's now corrected the fact that he was actually just a trainee solicitor and he never finished the training.
So he's also changed his CV like Rachel Reeves.
So he's changed his CV like Rachel Reeves, but for me, to a worse extent, because Rachel Reeves slightly gilded the lily about what she did at the Bank of England. She was an economist.
And
I don't think she was a particularly important economist at the Bank of England. She then went and did a job at HBOS and said she was an economist there. Wasn't. Had to correct it. She's also said that she contributed to a series of legal papers, which she didn't do. She also invented her chess champions, qualification when she got 26. There's a whole litany of things that she did. Yeah. But what she didn't do was pretend to be somebody who is what would normally consider to be a legal...
Well, it's an officer of the court.
An officer of the court, right? If you say that you're a solicitor and you're not, that is an offence.
Yeah.
In most people's eyes.
Well, it's fraud,
Well, he also said it in front of Parliament.
Yes,
this
he did.
is the thing. He said it in front of Parliament, which is lying to Parliament. And we all know what that means because we learnt during the Sue Gray trials that you're not allowed to sort of say one thing to... And actually, Boris Johnson was just like, did you mislead Parliament? And it was like, he said, well, I don't really know the facts. And did I eat a cake? Did I not eat a cake? It was all sort of nuance and bitty bits.
Yeah.
This guy literally stood in Parliament on the green benches and said, I find life easier now in an MP. It's a much easier life than when I was a solicitor.
Well, we've actually, as you would expect, we've actually got the clip. Have a look.
Before the last election, I worked as a solicitor in Manchester city centre, and I would travel in to Manchester every day from what is now my constituency.
He's done, isn't he? Get out.
So he's lied to Parliament. He's presumably lied also to, presumably, Keir Starmer and the executive of the Labour Party, but also to...
They don't care about that,
But
though.
also, but in getting selected, one would imagine that when you get selected and then elected, he's lied to the Labour Party in terms of getting his selection. Then he's lied to the electorate in his constituency, because that would presumably be on an election leaflet somewhere or somewhere to say, hey, look, I'm really credible because I'm a solicitor.
Well, it's likely that he used
lied and lied again.
Yeah, it's likely that he used it to sort of make himself look like a fine, upstanding member of the community. According to the Solicitors Regulation Authority, it is a criminal offence for someone to call themselves a solicitor or act as a solicitor if they are not on the roll of solicitors.
Wow.
And he's saying it in Parliament.
But he's done it
right?
several times,
Yeah.
not just there, right? He's done it several times.
And he's hanging in there. I think he's inevitably, by the time this airs, he may well have gone. But he can't stay in power, surely. He can't stay in the cabinet.
No, can I also just add that he is the business secretary who's never had any business experience?
Exactly right. He's a jumped-up councillor, as I've been saying all week.
I don't think that's a prerequisite to hold any office, to have experience in
housing.
who cares, right?
Yeah.
And that's a non-point. That's a non-point.
But it's probably better if you're not a congenital liar than a compulsive liar. I think that's probably not so good. Right, so here we are, down to the wire. Who are we going to give the Plank of the Week to? I know who you want it to go to. Plank of the Dvorka. She wants it to go to the German.
There's nice new entries, aren't there?
I think Jonathan is a pretty good contender, by the way, Jonathan Reynolds, because he is, the latest in a long line of liars working in
Do we not think a police force that allows a convicted terrorist
the
to cover
police
their
force,
face in a
I think
mugshot?
that's very good as well.
Can we have a joint?
Can I have a silver or a bronze?
Yeah, we can't. Well, I'm going to do a quick vote.
LGBTQ pirate ship.
A quick vote. Which one, Amanda? Who do you think?
I love you, Alex, but I think I'm going to go for the Jonathan one.
Jonathan Reynolds, Ben Habib?
Jonathan Reynolds, yeah.
I'm going to go for that crying European politician.
Crying European.
Obviously.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Go with the crying European. Well, majority rules, I suppose. We'll give it to the crying European.
Hold on. In the spirit of what JD Vance said about him, majority doesn't rule, doesn't like democracy, so therefore he shouldn't win it.
Well, I've obviously done this once and once only. It's the first and only time that it will go to somebody that you all think should get it. Christophe Heusgen. This is obviously difficult for me. It's very difficult for me. I'm going to need a big hug at the end of this, obviously, for everybody. That was Plank of the Week. The German diplomat who cries because somebody said something he didn't like. We'll see you next week on Plank of the Week.